Thus time advances. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Thus the clock advanced. Before I realized it, the cooler days of early summer had changed into the hot, humid days of summer in full swing. Aside from the romance that had appeared in my life, very little had changed in the day-to-day schedule. No matter how happy or sad a person may be, there will always be school or work waiting for them the next day after they go to sleep at night. Time stops for nothing. Tick-tock, tick-tock. The final day. The day I had decided on myself. On that day, too, the skies were blue and the weather fair. The cries of the cicadas resounded energetically. When I woke up, Machida was lying beside me. For once, she wasn't awake and looking at my face. Instead, she was sucking her thumb like a child as she slept. On the way to school, Dee Dee was in a good mood. She told me she'd been in good health lately, though I knew she was just doing her best to stay strong when she smiled the way she always did. Then in the afternoon, I ate lunch on the rooftop with Masaki and Mio. Masaki didn't say anything about the conversation she'd had with Crow, and I ended up teasing her by imitating the way she always stamped her ground with the feet. And Mio seemed as perpetually troubled as ever. It was a day in the life no different from any other. Only Crow wasn't trying to catch my attention, being quietly slumped over on her desk during break period. When she'd become a normal part of our lives, even that wasn't such a strange thing to see. Tick-tock, tick-tock. What is it that separates time from a clock? Time stops for nothing. But a clock will stop if one does not wind it. It was the end of 5th period, which itself followed the end of lunch break. The languor in the classroom reached its peak during the break period between classes, and Makoto said what everyone was thinking. Sounds like you're still feeling the effects of Loki's watch. It's amazing that you're tough enough to endure the effects of the magic at all. Perhaps I could even use Crow's watch in different ways if I figured out the trick behind it. The only reason I hadn't done that kind of practice already was because I lacked the discipline to do so. By the way, what's going on with your watch right now anyway? If you have enough reason to be able to do that, I guess it's not a problem. That was a dangerous power, but as long as she could keep it under control, I wasn't going to complain. No, I don't care about that anymore. I thought long and hard about the strength of your resolve, especially when I was in the shower last night. Wow, you're so metal. It was fun talking to Makoto because it felt like we were always on the same wavelength. By the way, I want to ask you a favor. Well then, if anything happens to me, I want you to take care of Crow and the watch too. If you want, I could even hand the watch over to you right now. She glared at me. I guess the mood yesterday would have been a better fit, but we didn't get the chance to seriously talk about it then. Makoto held her head in her hands. Apparently it was a shock to hear that from me now. Talking something out can be a surprisingly effective way of solving problems. It's common to hear people talk about how you trust your intuition, but personally I think that the people around me are all too impulsive for their own good. Will that be alright?
なんか露骨な死亡フラグが立つ気がするし。
Fair enough. Convinced, I put the watch back in my pocket. At that moment, I happened to notice Dee Dee walking up to me. What's up? Dee Dee wore a cute smile, and I found myself returning a blank gaze in response.
なんか DD さんにしたの？
Not that I can remember.
レイ君？
Huh? I found myself recoiling in surprise at her calling me something other than master. Dee Dee took advantage of that opportunity to reach up and pat me on the head.
ちゃんと今日もお家に戻ってきてくださいね。私待ってますから。
Then she smiled bashfully and, without saying another word, trotted back to her seat. Our classmates watched us, curious about what was going on, but they lost interest again pretty quickly. That's Dee Dee for you, seemed to be the general consensus. I met eyes with Makoto. She's a goddess.
女神だね。
何やってるんだお前ら。
Shuji, who happened to be walking by, gave us a look of exasperation. Nothing much.
レイ君、もしかしたら今日死んじゃうかもしれないんだ。
Makoto said it like it was no big deal.
そうか、大変だな。
What? You don't believe it?
信じるかバカ。
True. I grinned. Well, I should say thanks to you as well, Shuji, just in case something does happen.
暑さでおかしくなったか。
It warmed my heart to know that some things never change, like the never-ending torrent of abuse that comes out of Shuji's mouth.
で、こいつは何をしようとしてるんだ。何か危ないことか。
Shuji was apparently fed up with me since he asked Makoto instead. Makoto just shrugged.
放課後、クロちゃんとデートするんだって。
爆発して死ね。
I laughed. On those kind of peaceful days where nothing happens. And so on and so forth. One more class period went by afterwards, and following that, school concluded for the day. You did good.
授業というものだけはどうしてもなれんの。
You focus too much, Crow. You should relax. Even if that means you take a little longer to catch up.
そう言いながら頭を叩くでない。
Crow shook her head to and fro as if to recheck me.
それよりいいのか？本当に。
You mean our date?
デートではない。いろいろなことを確かめるためにもお主と遊びに行くだけだ。
Honestly, what's the point of living if you don't fall in love with anyone? Anyone who'd be satisfied with that bullcrap ought to just kill themselves. Even I was surprised by how deadly serious my voice was once those words left my mouth.
そうだな。しかしこれはデートであってはならないのだ。
Ignoring what Crow was saying, I decided to lighten the mood a little. Crow, other than going for a parfait, do you have any requests right now?
デート、いや、遊びというものを携帯で調べてみたが、映画というのが初心者向きらしい。
Oh, that's what I did for my first date with Makoto.
あとは買い物やコンサート、芸術鑑賞、夏なら海水浴というのもあるそうだ。
Well, we can't do all that stuff in one day. I responded with a wry smile, then took out my phone to verify the time. Right now, it was coming up on 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Since the sun would normally set at 6 or 7 o'clock this time of year, that gave us no more than 2 hours and change. 2 hours remaining. I tried to expel that thought from my mind, but I could still feel the burden of it in my chest. Outside of that, I had no other feelings on the matter. It was like learning a huge meteorite was going to destroy the world in 24 hours' time. Even if that happened, I would live my life as usual until the very end, because I wouldn't know what else to do. As for the movie, if we did that, it probably wouldn't leave us any time left to go for a parfait.
まあ、なんでもよい。お主と一緒にいられるなら、我が輩は何でもよいのだ。
Crow was holding onto my shirt. That's right. Anyway, let's continue this discussion as we walk. We might come up on something along the way. I disentangled Crow's hands from my shirt in order to be able to hold her hand. Then we started walking. I tried not to stare at her too much, but I could hear her giggling. We walked down a small road led from the school to the shopping district. Since Crow wasn't saying much, I tried to keep the conversation going. You know, movies are definitely good for beginners, but whatever might be playing at the theater is important to consider too. And summer break isn't here yet, so there's not really any big blockbusters out right now. Though, if I recall, there should be someone somewhere holding a new showing of some older movie right now. It was quite an interesting one too. Huh? Crow giggled again. What's been up with you all this time anyway? I looked down at Crow since she was so much older than me.
いや、気にするな。もっと話をしてくれ。
Conversation? I'm the only one talking.
頼む。
Is it me? Did I do something weird? I checked to see if my hair was standing in the back or if my necktie was crooked. Honestly, in this situation, the biggest worry I had was that the date would end up being boring. I had expected her to have a laughing at me like this when I'd barely done anything.
いや、自分に呆れてしまったのだ。お主と一緒にいるだけで、声を聞いているだけで、何もしていなくても楽しい。それに、木々も、空も、風も、音も、世界が昨日よりも輝いて見える。昨日から悶々としていて、教室でもお主を避けていたのに。こんな我が輩は何かおかしいのか?
No, that's definitely not strange at all. I awkwardly scratched my cheek. In spite of my memories of getting a girlfriend in several other timelines, I felt flustered at how cute and innocent we were, taking the first steps in our relationship like this. That's just a feeling you have when you come to like someone.
そうか。苦しいことと嬉しいことが同じ場所から生まれるとはままならんものだな。
That reminds me, even if we can vary with one's religion, there are a lot of wedding vows that mention sharing both of those things together with your partner.
やめる時も健やかなる時もだな。
You've done your homework, I see.
人の生活を眺めていれば祭事を目にする機会も多かったからな。今更だが、以前は何とも思わなかったことすべてが人間には意味のあるものだったのだな。
By the way, since we're trying to have fun, don't you think we should talk about something a little easier?
何か変化?
No, this conversation just feels really serious, I guess.
我が輩と会話するなら諦めよう。我が輩は結局お主らのような普通の会話というのは無理なようだ。しかし、これからは努力しよう。
From here on out, I like the sound of that. It reminded me of Dee Dee, who's always excited about tomorrow had in store for her.
そういえば、お主はずっと我が輩のそばにいてくれると約束してくれたな。あれはそういう意味なのか?
Well, I definitely wasn't thinking that far ahead, but
けど
maybe I wouldn't mind either way.
いかんいかん、頬が引きつるな。
Crow smiled and put her hands on her cheeks, which had turned bright red. So cute. I wanted to kiss her. Surely just once couldn't hurt. Crow was always looking up at me, owing to her short stature, which made it look like she was pleading for me to give her something.
なんだ?
Noticing how I was staring at her, she cocked her head to the side curiously. Nothing. Just thinking about something.
あまり変なことばかり考えてるのではないぞ。
Anyway, let's get going. If we're just going to talk, we might as well get some tea too.
そうだな。 てっぺんが熱くなってきたぞ。
As she patted the top of her head to cool it down, Crow looked so human that it was heartwarming. I took Crow's hand again and we started to walk. We casually strolled through the park, heading toward the monorail station. Since she took such small steps, and I was holding her hand to boot, I had to intentionally slow down my own gait to match hers. Along the way, we passed the location where Crow and had met Misaki and I fought with Makoto the day before.
あそこで。いや、なんでもない。
Crow found herself recalling yesterday the same way I was. But then a wry smile appeared on her lips, and she shook her head. I didn't press the issue. Then we entered the same cafe as before. And I could have sworn I heard a peal of thunder.
まさしくこれぞ愛。やはりこのパフェは美術館か博物館に寄贈するべきなのではないか。最悪この技術が失われないよう壁画として残しておくくらいはしておかないと人類全体の損失になるやもしれぬ。
Oh boy. She's in full-blown space cadet mode right now.
うるさいぞ。これを食べて衝撃を受けずにいられようものか。
Well, it certainly has quite a high-level taste to it. Since we come here again, I decided to order the same parfait as before. It was strewn with fruit and ice cream as per usual, but the cream on top was frozen over. It had a clear taste that didn't rely on sugar or other sweeteners, and even after the cream melted, the smell of the milk lingered in my nostrils for a moment longer. What a delicacy.
お主からするとこれは普通のものなのか。
No, it really is exceptionally good. I'm surprised they have something like this at such a little out-of-the-way shop. Considering my own upbringing, I could easily tell it was exceptional.
そうであろう、そうであろう。
There was a great big smile on Crow's face, which made me smile too. Then I covertly took out my phone to check the time. It's just after 5 o'clock. If we stayed here much longer, the sun would be starting to set in no time. Well, whatever. I wasn't particularly trying to make any fond memories anyway. If I may, you asked before about what sort of feeling it was to come to like someone. What do you think now?
悪くはない。
Glad to hear it. As long as it helps you out with living as a human, I guess.
それより新しく知りたいことがある。
Something else. Crow had already learned about the most salient parts of human life, love and suffering. There couldn't have been things more extreme than that. So her question couldn't be that difficult, right? What is it?
死。
That word was so out of place I was unable to comprehend its meaning right away. But hey, she had a valid point. I should have seen that question coming, considering the flow of the conversation. Crow had been born, had known suffering, and had fallen in love. After that, were he to follow the experience of human life to its logical conclusion, he would naturally reach death. And to start with, there was a fear of death that Crow felt most strongly when she first became human. She had come full circle. Just like the hands of a clock.
お主は死ぬのが怖くないのか。
Crow looked up at me. Her expression was serious, but her voice sounded casual. Is this really a conversation one had over a parfait? I sighed, but Crow continued to smile at me.
夏にはうってつけの話題であろう。それに人間は死を娯楽にもしている。
I guess so. The topic of death comes up all the time in TV shows and literature. Even if we exclude the realm of fiction, various deaths are reported all the time on the news. We talked about death at the very beginning, didn't we? when we were in the garden at night. You said that you saw it many times on the battlefield.
あそこは人間にとっても特殊な場であろう。我が輩の勇姿は
Oops. Well, if that's really what you want to chat about,
興味深い。
basically death is a natural thing. It's something that will come to everyone in due time, so everyone is interested in knowing what it's like, the same as you. And since there can never be any way of knowing what it really is like, people have always been coming up with various ways of trying to understand it.
メメントモリ。
Remember death. Huh.
明日死ぬかもしれないんだから、食べ、飲め、そして陽気に。
What?
もともとの意味は我が輩が言った方だ。お主にぴったりであろう。
I see.
時計は死を想起させるものでもある。
Like it's ticking away how much time you have left.
ピーターパンのフック船長も不死身でありながら死と時計が結びついた時計ワニに追いかけられているな。
Hey, don't you seem to know a lot more about death than me? I heaved a groan as I ate a spoonful of my own parfait.
そうであろうな。
Then, do you have another question to ask?
最も身近なこと。お主が自分の死についてどう考えているかだ。
That was another very precise question. There are two possible answers I can give you.
お主の死についてか？
No. Whenever someone has a question asked of them, there are two possible answers that can be given. You can either give them the honest truth, or you can give them an answer they'd be most convenient to hear. So, Crow, which one of those do you want to hear? At that point, Crow stopped talking. That was surprising. Since she stopped talking, she must have been hesitating.
うかつだった。
She mumbled that quite slowly. The next bite of her parfait put a smile back on her face, but a moment later that smile faded again.
少しだけ考えさせてくれ。
Crow didn't bring up the subject of death again after that. By the time we'd finished our parfaits and left the cafe, it was after 6 o'clock. I could see the sky was still blue when I gazed up at it. These summer days were surprisingly long. We had a small surplus of time.
これからどうする？
We don't have much time. We don't have enough time to do much of anything.
では帰るか。
We'd need to take the monorail.
今からなら日が暮れる前には家に着けるか。
Crow looked up at the sky the same way I did. From a sundial's perspective, we were currently at 12 o'clock and the house was in the direction of 3 o'clock. The usual monorail route took us there in 10 minutes. That's if we follow the flow of time, anyway.
時間の流れ？
Since we're still having fun, why don't we try riding the monorail counterclockwise for a change? We couldn't do anything other than go for parfaits today, so since you love the monorail so much, we could spend more time riding it that way. You should be able to see a really beautiful sunset over the sea, too.
時計回りなら未来、反時計回りなら過去か。
It's just like your watch.
そうか。
Crow mumbled a short response.
まっすぐ家に帰ってもよいのだぞ。
That'd just be a waste. This is supposed to be a date, after all.
デートではない。
Of course not. I scratched my head. After that, we just had to walk over to the monorail station.
手をつながないのか？
Oh, right. Realizing I was getting anxious, I put my hand to my chest. My heart was beating a little faster than usual. I wiped the sweat off my hand with my shirt and slowly held out my hand for Crow to take. However, after looking at my hand for a moment, Crow started walking without taking my hand. And so, we intentionally took a longer route back home on the monorail. Whether it was by coincidence or by fate, there wasn't a single other person to be seen in the car we boarded. Crow sat down, and I stood next to her. Just as I figured, by the time we'd gone halfway around the town, the sun had started to set. I found myself in that scarlet world once again.
楽しかったな。
Crow, who had been looking out the window the entire time, turned to me and said that. Yeah,
今日も楽しかった。
Crow repeated herself.
今日が楽しくて、明日も楽しければ最高だ。
Once summer break gets here, it's gonna be like that pretty much every day.
フィーバーフィーバー
Viva!
フィーバ
She's too cute. Still, there's gonna be a lot of homework.
ー。勉強はお主や DD に手伝ってもらえばよい。
Maybe you could study together with Mio and Masaki sometime.
みちるは
You can ask her for help with anything, except homework.
あの女子の頭の悪さを周囲が加速させておるのだな。
Well, if we got everyone together, Machida would come to my room whether I asked her to or not.
それもそうだな。というより、お主の部屋に入り浸りそうだ。
She practically lives in there over long breaks. In the summer, she even wears all kinds of skimpy clothes to get a rise out of me. Not like I minded getting a bit of eye candy, though.
夏休みになれば、まさしく朝から晩まで遊べるのだな。
Yeah.
パフェも食べ放題か？
You'll get a stomach ache if you eat too much ice cream. Besides, you're allowed to keep yourself from eating too much so you won't get fat.
なんだ、我が輩が見た目を気にするような性格だと思ったか。
Well, if you don't even try to maintain how cute you are, that's not fair at all, is it?
まあ、お主に嫌われぬ程度には注意しよう。
You'll have to try stuff like swimming at the beach in the local festival too. So I already have plans with Makoto for the festival.
誠は誠で、二人きりで出かけたいと言っておるのだろう。美咲やみちるもこれからおねだりしてくるだろう。
It's not easy being popular, is it?
調子に乗ってると刺されそうだが。
Guess I'll have to watch myself. He laughed at me, very merrily. Just that sight, the sight of the girl I liked laughing that way, gave me a feeling that there was still good in this world.
こんなに幸せだとおかしな気分になる
She took the words right out of my mouth. Then,
な。楽しかった。これは夢だな。
Crow spoke quietly.
お主が人間にとって大事なものを我が輩に伝えようとしていたことには気づいておる。我が輩を愛して大事にしてくれたことも痛感している。いくら感謝しても足りぬほどにな。しかしもう一度クロノスと会う必要はない。そこまでせずともよいのだ。
Crow turned away as if she couldn't bear to look at me anymore. Then she turned her stare to the rails ahead of us.
もうすぐ次の駅に着く。そこで降りればまだ間に合うだろう。その足で海に行き時計を捨てよ。我が輩のことは忘れてよい。
Crow looked straight up at me and told me that. I can't do that. I smiled to calm Crow down. Forgetting by you is something I'm not capable of doing.
一体お主は何をしようとしているのだ。
All I want is to end this story with a plain old happy ending.
ハッピーエンド。いや、それなら余計に我が輩ではなく他の誰かを選べばよいことだろう。
I shook my head. I couldn't do that. What Crow had said was correct, but to me it was wrong. Everyone had realized that I was risking my life for Crow's sake. But the real problem came after that, and no one had dared to speak of that problem. What exactly was in it for me, risking my life like this? There was a need to be absolutely clear on that. I guess so. Looking at Crow as she dropped her head, I looked around the car and up the train. We were riding the monorail on our way home from a date, but Chrono still didn't show any sign of appearing. After I steeled my resolve to do this, it looked like we were going to make it home safely anyway. Was there still something missing? I thought about what was still different from last time, and when Cronus appeared, my girlfriend and I were both smiling. Right now, we were talking about possibly being separated. That just wouldn't do. Crow,
なんだ
can I kiss you?
いやお主は突然何を言っておるのだ
It's not sudden. It's something I wanted to do for a long time.
そうか別れの口づけということか
Just because you're so cute.
我が輩などでよければそうしてもいやしてみたいそう
I brought up this idea in order to get rid of my gloomy mood. That was too easy. Due to the tears in her eyes from saying our farewells, Crow's eyes glittered like gold as she looked up at me. That made me way too excited. Crow's eyes closed, and she ever so slightly stuck out her lips. A grin crept down to my face without me noticing. I could die happy right now. Be careful of what you wish for. At that moment, the train slowed down as it neared the station. Here we go again. Crow's body sprang upwards, though only slightly. The light disappeared from her sparkling eyes. I grabbed tight onto the railing and prepared myself for impact. Owing to the law of inertia, I was bracing myself against the direction we were traveling in. Even with the prior knowledge that it would happen, the violent crash that ensued was no less sudden than before. It definitely did feel like an earthquake. I rubbed my aching arm and then opened my eyes, which had reflexively shut. The world had broken. In this world, time had come to a halt. In this world, time was out of joint. I had stepped into the same abnormality that I had witnessed one fine day, just as I wished. And then with her kimono fluttering in an impossible breeze, the master of this broken world appeared. Yo! Haven't seen you in a while? Though, I guess it hasn't been even a whole month.
私にとって時間の定義は意味がない私はここにいるがどこにでもいる
Yeah, whatever. You could accuse me of whistling in the dark, but my face showed clear as day that I was laughing at something which was absolutely no laughing matter. Memento mori, remember death. No matter how prepared I was to face this moment, it was still enough to terrify anyone out of their wits. I just need to be certain of this, though. In these circumstances right now, is the crow I know able to hear this conversation?
それを私が望むのならば可能である
Nah. In fact, I much prefer it if she couldn't hear.
私には関係のないことだ
Yeah. Just talking to myself here anyway.
自殺か
Goddess didn't skip a beat, bringing the conversation back to the original topic. No. I actually have a reason for seeing you this time. And sorry about last time, by the way. I had no idea how to talk to a goddess back then.
話になど意味はない
You might be right. She was right. In the face of an omnipotent goddess, bargaining, arguing, or even begging were things which had no meaning. Trying to communicate with her as though she were a human would be utterly futile. In other words, this was the same situation as when I talked to myself in order to speak to Crow. It was like praying to God for help. It was just a question of whether God listens to the prayers of mere humans. Then I happened to notice Chrono narrow her eyes slightly while gazing at me. I hadn't been expecting that.
不理解だ。お前のしていることは定められた自殺と同義の行為でしかない。
You can't even understand my feelings right now, huh? Some sorry goddess you are. I couldn't help but grin as I cracked a joke at her expense. I had no idea whether it could even be hot or cold in this world, but there was sweat dripping down my back, my cheek. I don't want to die, and yet... This is for the sake of my humanity, for chivalry, and for my beloved Crow.
私には何の意味もない。
Not you. I mean the Crow I know.
私は私だ。しかし、私である私が人間に対してお前の言う不必要な概念を学んでしまったことは理解している。結果、私が私に戻ろうとするたび、力との接続で同じことが繰り返されてしまう。私は私としてここに存在してしまっている。
Oh. I get it now. I was right in thinking that Chrono lost her power when she got cut off from the main body, but every time the goddess reconnected to Crow, Crow used the main body's power to save me. Perhaps the events differed with each separate timeline that was created, but it created an infinite loop regardless. From my perspective, this was the second time, but how many times had this story played out by now? More importantly though, I've had it all wrong. I hadn't been targeted by the goddess, rather the goddess had been trapped in our world. I took out Crow's watch. Everything that had happened, it was all this thing's fault. Even in a world in which it stopped, the hands of the watch continued to move. Normally the time it displayed was 5 minutes behind the actual time, but now it had very nearly caught up with the actual time. Right. On that day when Didi and Crow both called me master and I turned back time, I hadn't reacted quickly enough to prevent it from happening. Now I knew the reason why. It was because the watch had turned time back by less than 5 minutes. Well, whatever. Anyway, when it comes to solving this problem, I'm guessing you can't think of any better ideas than killing me, or tearing Crow away from you. I want to help you with your problem. That's why I've come to see you. If you're telling me to give up on Crow, I refuse. I'm telling you to let go of Crow! My tone became much harsher without me realizing it. I screamed at her. Knowing that my very existence could be erased at any moment, the sheer stress of that thought bearing down on me made me feel like vomiting. I couldn't tell what sort of expression I was wearing, but right now, I just had to keep bluffing. If Crow really was just being used as an observer, that means you experienced everything she did living as a human, doesn't it? You heard everything she heard, and you saw everything she saw. Being overjoyed when she got her phone, being wistful while gazing up at the moon, being so stupidly impressed by something as simple as consuming a parfait, falling in love, crying, laughing, saying she was glad to become a human. Every little emotion a human could feel, you experienced it all firsthand. Then who was it? Who was Crow supposed to be? That's it. As long as Crow is connected to you, she can never truly be free. So let her go. That was the reason I had intentionally returned here. No matter how many precious human experiences I gave to Crow, as long as the goddess could take it all away in the blink of an eye, for no reason at all, there was no meaning in doing so. Crow could never move on with her existence like that. In order to truly make Crow independent at the end, in order to do that, it was necessary for me to meet Chronos once again. I know that I'm nothing more than an insignificant speck to you. I also know how there's nothing I could possibly give a goddess like you in exchange. But if Crow really represents the free will you've come to have within you, you better show her some respect. Chrono slowly closed her eyes. She stayed like that for 10 seconds. Even if it was rather strange to speak of intervals of time in a world where time was unmoving, Chronos opened neither her eyes nor her mouth for what felt like 10 seconds. That blank void of time started to give me a suspicious feeling. It was almost as if Chronos were in thought right now. This wasn't a game of chance. I had expected she would give me an immediate answer regardless of whether she agreed with me or not. I thought there was nothing which could sway a goddess's judgment. What could have been happening within the goddess? Before I could figure out what was going on, Chronos opened her eyes again.
お前はそれを言うためだけに私に会いに来たということか。私ではない私のために。
Right.
わからない。
You don't need to understand. After all, there's no such thing as a means to an end with you, is there?
そうだ。
Nothing holds any meaning to a goddess, since she is omnipotent. To a human, that seems almost pitiful.
だが、私は私を失うことを望んではいない。訂正する。私は私のことを知りたいがために私を存在させておきたい。お前の知っている私を完全に切り離せば私は私だけになってしまう。それを人間でいう喪失だと私は理解している。
What? Chrono stopped again. My heart was pounding away in my chest like a drum. What was that just now? What sort of expression was Chronos making? Until this very moment, I believed that Chronos saw Crow as nothing more than a hindrance. But Chronos, without the observer known as Crow, was... No, she had denied that way of describing it. Chronos, when correcting herself, had effectively stated that the things Crow had learned while living as a human were things she herself wanted to learn as well. And without Crow, she was effectively just one single entity. Are you trying to tell me you were lonely? Chronos gave no response, but rather than denying it, it appeared she was simply unable to comprehend it. I looked around. This place, where time had stopped and the world had seemingly come to an end, was the realm Chronos inhabited. With the exceptions of windows that someone had created, the windows that crows watched and gave birth to, the goddess could only experience this world. This was the only place she knew of. However, the goddess could look into other worlds through a tiny peephole, worlds where time flowed freely, all possible worlds. Then I looked into Chronos' eyes once more. I had been mistaken. She too was Crow. Every time Crow returned to this body, little by little, she came to understand the human emotions better. So she came to understand them by pure happenstance. In such an isolated realm as this, she was alone. Let her go. I repeated it again. With no further need to bluff, I spoke in a normal tone of voice this time.
私は
In exchange, I'll be by your side.
それは人間にとって永遠は死を意味するが、やはり自殺ではないのか。
I don't know. I muttered in a totally different voice from before, a just barely audible voice of shock and exhaustion. I don't know. Perhaps I was simply heartbroken beyond all reason. I don't know, but there aren't any other choices left for me. So, then of a sudden, my words stopped in my throat. If I really accepted this, no matter how unprepared I was for this fate, it meant I would never see Shuji or any of the girls in my life ever again. Michiru, Makoto, Miu, Misaki, Didi. I would never see any of them ever again. I would effectively be throwing away my whole life and any possibilities that could ever come with it. My friends, my parents, whom I loved in spite of their quibbling, everything that lay ahead in my future, I'd be throwing it all away. But I promised Crow that I would stay with her, and I will guard that promise with my life. I sighed as I declared that. I'd figured my chances of survival were a good 20%. No, honestly, my more optimistic outlook was a 60% chance, or 70% if I was really being generous. But now, it was over. No matter what, I couldn't bear to have such a lonely existence continue to live in solitude this way. Jeez.
それでいいのか
Yeah.
わかったこの男に伝えるがよい感謝する
Huh? My eyes popped open in confusion, since something about Chrono's voice sounded different for some reason. Chronos, taciturn as ever, just stared at me in silence. However, her expression had softened. She awkwardly tried to move the corners of her mouth, and I realized she was smiling. That was her expression now. Crow?
我が輩は黒ではない偉大なる時の神クロノスだだが黒という呼ばれ方もくすぐったくて嫌いではない特にお主に呼ばれる時はな
Crow danced through the air and brought her face close to mine. I knew it. Floating in the air really does suit you better. All the tension went out of my body. It made me feel like I was going to collapse on the floor with relief.
なんだその感想は
Who cares? That's just how I feel.
仕方のないご主人だの
Crow put her hand on my cheek, and I stretched out my hand to touch her cheek in return. But I didn't feel any warmth there. My hand pressed right through her. Crow.
なんだご主人
Listening to Crow's gentle voice, I realized what Crow was thinking. What she talked to Cronus about when I was not there. Why, upon coming to understand love, she had suddenly come out and asked me about death in the middle of eating her parfait. I wasn't the only one who steeled his resolve. Just like I had made my choice, they too had considered their options and made their own choices. All of us were striving for a happy ending. Most of all, Crow was doing the same. I felt my heart wrench as my voice caught in my throat.
ご主人もう一度名前を呼んでくれ
Crow.
もう一度
Crow.
もう一度
Crow.
もう一度
Crow. 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 Are you going to leave me?
安心せい我が輩はいつでもお主のそばにおる
Crow's expression suddenly displayed a hint of shock, even though I hadn't responded. But why? She must have noticed that what was streaming down my cheeks.
短い付き合いだったが、よくもここまで懐いたものだ。
You're the one who became attached to me.
そうだな。我が輩はお主に情を抱いてしまった。それよりこんな風にご主人の泣き顔を目にするのは初めてだ。
I'm not crying.
そうだな。泣いておらん。
Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Chloe's hand on my cheek, moving slightly. Perhaps she was trying to wipe the tears from my eyes, but I couldn't feel the warmth of her hand. There was an incredible pain in my heart. After all, there was no way of stopping a human who had sealed their resolve about something.
すまんな。こんな時何を言うべきか我が輩は知らん。お主の涙をどうやって止めてやればいいのだろう。もっといろいろなことを知りたかった。
Crow. Crow, aren't you going to cry? It was a question direct from my unconscious mind. A choke sob escaped from Crow's throat. As if my question had shattered what little resistance she had left, Crow's voice stopped dead as she gnashed her teeth. Crow. Crow.
やめよ。名前を呼ぶな。
Her expression twisted into a grimace. Then,
怖いに決まっておるだろう。これがしか消えたくない。消えたくない。 怖いよ。
the overflowing tears in Crow's eyes soon formed big drops that fell to the floor. Crow was always honest with her feelings, and right now, she was a crybaby. The tears fell through my outstretched hand.
消えるのは嫌だ。嫌だよ。 嫌だ。怖い。怖い。怖い。こんなの嫌だ。まだ何も。我が輩は何も。もっとお主たちと。 もっと遊んで。痛い。遊びたい。お主と一緒に。でもお主が消えるのはもっと嫌だ。
From that point on, words were no longer necessary. Crow bawled her heart out. Honestly. Genuinely. Whatever shame she may have felt was washed away with her tears. You're right. I softly muttered that as I closed my eyes. Even more than I wanted to see Crow, I wanted to be able to touch her. If only I could have closed my eyes and reached out to feel her warmth for just a moment. I wondered if Crow would feel my warmth. I wanted to share this small bit of human warmth with a crying child. Crow. 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 It's okay. I'm right here. I'll always be with you. Crow opened her eyes and looked at me, so I smiled back at her. Best way to stop someone's tears is to show them a smile. When someone smiles, it makes the people around them happy too. Simple, isn't it? A smile appeared on Crow's lips as she laughed. You look awful. Touche.
一緒にいるという約束をもうしただろう。
Yeah, you're right.
ご主人よ、最後に一つ我が輩が教えてやろう。
Don't you dare say this is the end.
大事な人との別れにはどうすればよいのか知っておるか？どうすれば残していくものを大切に思っているのだと伝えることができるか？我が輩はずっとそればかり見てきた。だから実は別れは得意なのだ。
I know.
そうか。
I could not even feel her lips upon mine. However, what I did feel was her warmth. The warmth of her heart. The heart which loved me. The heart which I loved. Our connection. Cheers. The person I loved. The person I couldn't leave. Then, I heard a voice. It was a very, very kind voice. As a tiny soul disappeared from my world. I slowly opened my eyes. No one was there. Nothing was there. Just a lone, dry glimmer of light. It's kind of refreshing to cry every once in a while, I softly muttered. My heart was at ease. The world around me was quiet. It was over. However, in just a little while, I could stay in the place where no one else remained. In that perfectly silent world, I closed my eyes. I etched into my heart the memory of that gentle voice so that I would never forget it.
もしも人として正しく死を知ることができたのなら生まれ変わることができるかもしれない。きっとできる。 だからまた戻ってくる。あなたの隣に。時間を超えて。
どうしてどうしてこれほどにもいつからこうして君に思い寄せ始めて同じ時間を生きていたいだけどそれを願うと消え入りそうでも溢れる気持ちを止められないだけど踏み出せる勇気くれる時を超え一つになるのを振り返らず前へ進む心幾千の過去から今また未来へと希望の光を信じて時が過ぎ笑い合えるまた思い出へと変わる日々を重ねたくさんの過去より今また紡いでく希望に輝く光へ二人で歩いていくから
Happily ever after, indeed. As our first post-break homeroom wrapped up amidst the usual commotion, I muttered that aloud for no particular reason.
何がだつうかさんずい最近たまにそれ口にしてるな。
I'm happy though.
何がだ夏休みも終わって一番面倒くさい時期に。
Shuji groaned, his brutal and ever-present honesty on full display. Summer had concluded, and the season had changed. It was now September. The summer heat still lingered, and all the students had totally forgotten the class material over the long break, so everyone in the classroom seemed bored and listless. Even after homeroom ended, the students sat around idly instead of heading home right away, for no reason at all. Everyone wanted to sit around and chat about what they did over summer break. Why can't we have a fall break too?
奇跡的にさんずいと意見があったな。で、何がめでたいんだ？
Oh, nothing in particular. I just like it when things have some closure. Hearing that, Shuji furrowed his brow at me.
もしかして夏休みの記念に風俗で童貞でも捨ててきたか？
Even if I did, why would I tell you? I'd be trying to tell everyone. I mean, even if I did, why would I be trying to tell everybody? Well, there was no point in being serious with him. Why did I even bother responding in the first place? Whatever. What about the girl from before, huh? Why couldn't you think of her as a possible girlfriend for me? To get me over summer break, instead of becoming some grade A Cortesian or something.
うるせえ、死ねえ。夏休みに彼女ができるとか、そんな幻ありえるか、そんなもん。
Well, I'll be darned. I actually agree with Suji for once.
死ねえ。
I've already blown the chance to do that, though.
あ
Nah, it's nothing.
じゃあまた明日な。
Shuji picked up his bag and turned to leave. Hey, Shuji,
なんだよ。
just confess to Machiro already. Wow, that was quite a glary shot at me. Still, that whole incident with Mio didn't happen this time, so there wasn't any need for me to tell him to put that anyway.
した。
Say what?
夏休みに告白した。
I didn't hear about that.
うるせえ。
Hurling abusive language me my way as always, Shuji left the classroom for real this time. Wow! He really did confess. That guy never ceases to amaze me. Since I didn't have to hear the outcome from him to know what it was, I couldn't help but smirk. Although I felt a rather sad memory floating to the surface as well. Serves me right.
何をニヤニヤしてるのレイ君。
Well, something kind of sad.
楽しいことじゃなくて
Nope, definitely sad.
よくわからないけど DD さんとか1年生トリオと遊ぼうと思ってるんだけど一緒にどう
Don't tell me. It's that again, isn't it?
は
Cutie burst in, practically glowing with
ーい
excitement.
第17回クロさんがいなくなって寂しいね会の開催ですそういうこと
If it's been that many already, I can't help but feel you guys will find pretty much any excuse to hold an assembly of that club.
否定はしない
Still, considering all that had happened, I guess it was a necessity to assemble a club like that for everyone directly affected by it all together and chat. Anyway, I'll have to pass.
おー残念ですなんで嫌なのせっかくこの学園の可愛いところを集めた女の子たちに吊るし上げてもらえるのに
Makoto, do you even understand what you're saying?
あんまり考えてない
Besides, I'm flat broke right now.
あベリー切実な理由でしたねせちがらいな
I attended the first meeting of the It's Awfully Sad Without Pro Around Club, but I didn't want to talk any further about it than that. To cut a long story short, I offered to pay for everyone's food and drinks, and just about lost my shirt in the process.
まあいいやじゃあ DD さんいつものお店ではーい私もお掃除当番が終わったら行きますじゃあ
After making sure no one else around could see from outside the classroom, Makoto suddenly vanished into thin air.
いいですねテレポーテーション
It's amazing that she can do it so naturally. But that's just more proof that Makoto isn't normal. I guess Makoto didn't get rid of Loki's watch in the end after all. And one could say she had complete control over it too. Perhaps by not throwing away the watch, Makoto meant to tell me that her final showdown with me was now on hold because Crow had disappeared. Only Makoto was a continuation. And surely she would continue to be one.
うーん
As I sat there deep in thought, Dee, who had stuck around, came over to look at my face. Too close!
思わずチューしたくなる距離ですね
If you understand, then get away!
ご主人様本当に参加しなくていいんですか
I just said I'm flat broke.
そういうことではなくまあいいです
I appreciate your kindness, but you don't need to worry about me. I'm not depressed or anything.
そうですね
Dee agreed with me rather indifferently.
もしも本当に落ち込んでたらきっと今頃よりどりグリーンのガールの誰かに泣きついて恋人ができてますよね
If I had that kind of girlfriend, our relationship would probably be too mushy for anyone to handle.
ねっとり
Never mind. I patted Dee on the head. Speaking of Dee, I noticed you seem to be in good health lately.
はい今日もご飯が美味しかったです
That's not what I meant. Well, maybe it was. Dee had been constantly exhausted throughout July despite her insistence that she was fine. After some point in time, she appeared to be getting better. Undoubtedly, her health really was improving. Recalling that this had started to happen right around the time Crow disappeared, I wondered what sort of significance that could have had. Well, see you later, Dee Dee.
はいまたハウスで
I said goodbye to Dee Dee and left the costume. Phew. Leaving them in spite of the air conditioning from the summer heat immediately made me start to sweat. Sometimes I wondered if autumn would ever come. It was annoying how the seasons had skipped right over autumn these last few years. Summer break ended, and I didn't get a girlfriend after all, huh? I sighed, disappointed in myself. I took out my watch. Crow's watch. The hands on the watch no longer moved. It had lost its power to turn back time, and I couldn't break it no matter what I did. It had become a useless little souvenir, but I still carried it around with me all the same. Guess I should have scraped a little money together on those lottery tickets after all. I was still feeling the blues about my lack of money, so gazing at the watch sparked practical worries about my finances rather than wistful memories of the way things used to be. I only had one more year in which I could live my life freely before giving myself over to the Sawatari company. Maybe I should go looking for a job.
あら
I suddenly heard a familiar voice. Before I knew it, there was Machiru walking hand in hand together with Misaki. Yo!
このような騒がしく薄汚れた場所で兄様に会えるなんて今日はなんて良き日なのでしょう
Foul and noisy? Well, whatever.
先輩バイトするんですか
Misaki, all too used to Machiru's strange way of speaking, tilted her head in confusion at my own mumblings instead. Well, I am flat broke and all.
どんな嫌味なセリフなのそれ
I'm serious. I don't get much for an allowance.
普通に育てられてるのはいいけどあんまり小さいことにこだわってると将来せこい人になっちゃうわよ
Oh, chill out. I'm just gonna drive the Sawatari name into bankruptcy anyway.
男らしい高貴な目標ですねあんたら無駄なところでバカよね
Like I said, Misaki, chill out. When the Sawatari has gone down, I'm taking the Andos with me too.
何の関係もない
Seemingly having touched off a nerve with my remark, Misaki's pride made her voice explode into a long-winded rant, like a superhero on a cheesy TV show making their grand entrance.
相変わらず美咲さんは楽しいですね
Yep, it's all in the day's work.
私はあんたら兄弟のおもちゃじゃないのよそうですねおもちゃというより楽器のようなものでしょうかみちる余裕でいられるのも今のうちなんだからね次のコンクールで吠え面を書かせてやるんだからあら吠え面だなんてワンちゃんみたいな品のないお言葉ですね私は兄様のメスイ
Misaki seemed to be having a strange sort of meltdown, though I'm pretty sure she meant to say something like, "The girl who calls herself her dearest brother's little dog with a straight face is the last thing a person on earth wanted to hear that line from." And evidently, Michiru seemed to be thinking the same thing.
私は兄様のメス犬です程度の言葉で恥ずかしがっているようではやはり美咲さんは兄様にはふさわしくありませんね
What the heck kind of character are you trying to make me into anyway?
毎晩のように欲望を妹に
Not one more word. That was a rhetorical question, and you know it.
かしこまりましたところで兄様も第18回兄様が私のものだと納得させる会にご参加されるのですか
I won't. Hey, wait. Did you just make up that club's name on the spot yourself? And besides, isn't it actually the 17th Assembly?
中級会じゃなかったっけあらみんながバラバラの名前で開催してるから数が合わないんだよ全部合わせると23回目かな
I can almost see the question marks over Masaki Michiru's heads when Neo popped up out of nowhere.
あでも みちるちゃんとみさきちゃんは全部参加してるはずだよ。
You people love me too much.
それは当然。そういうところは仲いいよね、二人とも。
Me aside, clearly the wisest person in the vicinity.
そうだ、レイ先輩、こんにちは。
Oh, hi. Seems like your happiness might be running away from you again, Mio.
最近はまたちょっとあれですね。レイ先輩から離れ気味なせいでしょうか。
Anyway, it's too embarrassing for me to be seen with the three of you. If you're all here now, then you should get going.
ご命令とあれば。先輩も今度は参加してよね。それじゃあ失礼します。
The trio of the first year girls said goodbye to me when Len left, walking in the direction of the school gate. Or so I thought, but then one of them came back.
レイ先輩。
What's wrong?
そのクロさんのいないところでこういうことを言ってもいいのかわからないんですけど、
Hmm?
私もまだレイ先輩のこと待ってますから。いつか迎えに来てくださいね。それだけです。
Giving me a quick bow, Mew turned and left to rejoin the other two. Ignoring the surrounding go die in a fire glares from the other male students in the area, which carried on from that flirting, I found myself pensively lost in thoughts. A promise, huh? Someone was waiting for me. Those words weighed heavily on my mind. And now that I had come to understand how it felt to be kept waiting. In the end, I had chosen no one. Now all the girls were having these weird gatherings to distract themselves from me, almost as if they didn't want to pursue me out of the consideration for the now departed Crow. If Crow wasn't going to be coming back, then... No! As if to shake the excessive thoughts out of my head, I found myself scratching the top of my head, warm from sunlight, as I began to walk. Walking down the few side paths from school, I boarded the monorail at the nearest station. For no particular reason, I got on the train that traveled around the town clockwise. It would take 3 times as long to go home this way than taking the train that went counterclockwise, but this was a symbolic gesture on my part. Clockwise into the future, clockwise, counterclockwise into the past. But there were empty seats in the car. I opted to stand and hold on to one of the straps hanging from the ceiling as usual, while I muttered that to myself. I had a hunch something was going to happen. Though riding the monorail was an almost daily occurrence for me, doing so now was setting my heart aflutter. Surely something was going to happen today. Crow was going to come back. I expected this day in, day out. And day in, day out, nothing happened at all. I was disappointed by the unchanging rhythm of my days, wondering whether someday I would stop expecting anything at all. But nevertheless, it still made my heart race every time. I felt no anxiety about it. Someday, she would definitely come back. Day in, day out, I was certain it would happen. Today. The central station and shopping district passed by uneventfully, and after a long time, the station nearest to my house finally came into view. Maybe tomorrow. As I mumbled to myself, I stood in front of the door that would soon open out to the station platform. The monorail slowly came to a stop, and then a gigantic grin appeared on my face. On the other side of the door's glass window, there stood a lone girl, a beautiful girl clad in a one-piece dress which gave an air of summertime. The most beautiful girl in the world. One could say she was as frigid, yet sweet as fresh ice cream. Why won't the store just open already? It felt like time had ground to a halt for me once more. Hurry, hurry. After one interminable second pass, the door finally opened. Crow's lips curved upwards into a big smile when she laid eyes on me.
お主、まだ童貞のままだろうな。
That's the first thing you say to me? Such a buzzkill. My shoulders slumped against the doorway. I think I'm gonna cry.
何かおかしかったか？これでもずっといろいろな言葉の中から選んだのだが。
Wait, you chose them? You totally looked like you were playing a trick on me, too. I wasn't sure what to say next. That was the face Crow made back when we met the first time. A gigantic grin.
というより、お主こそ戻ってきた我が輩への第一声ががっかりとはなんだ?
Well, excuse me for being honest. I was a little worried about the amount of time we'd been standing there. The door was going to close in about 10 seconds. I'm not dreaming, am I? What kind of power had Crow utilized that allowed her to return to this world? Had she really been living her life as a human all this time? There was a mountain of unanswered questions before me. But whatever. I didn't matter one bit. Because there was all the time in the world for them. Welcome back, Crow. At my words, Crow displayed a beautiful smile. Tears beginning to flow down her childish face, Crow gave her response. And then I heard the signal of the monorail preparing to depart for this next station. I pushed my hands against the doorway to keep the door from closing, with apologies to the station attendant. Crow! I held out my hand. Tears streaming down her eyes, Crow leapt toward me. There was no need to get off the monorail, for this day was far from over. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Thus the clock advances. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Thus time advances. To everything there is a season, a time to dance and a time to mourn, a time to laugh and a time to weep, a time to every purpose under heaven. Tick-tock, tick-tock. An unchanging tempo. A universal invariant until the hands of the clock cease to turn. Nonetheless, there are a certain few words that must be spoken before we conclude our story. They are words yearned for by all people in search of a smile. Words of pure magic. Happily ever after, indeed. Oh, what about that? Oh man. That was a good story. That was great. It was wonderful. 10 out of 10. I wonder if there's anything more. I wonder if there's any other characters that are opening. Like Mew did come back and say, unlock in Prologue 7, a choice has been added. You'll need to start from the beginning in the title menu. Does that mean Mew? Let's save it. Prologue 1. Does that mean that there's a new choice? Oh! If you haven't seen the first time I played this through and got through the prologue, there was a point where I was given a choice, a decision to make, and only one option appeared in the decision that I could make. Like I was only allowed to make that one choice. I bet there are now two choices right then. So, should I play the prologue again or just go to that choice? Alright, I'm going to end the video here, obviously, and I'll play up to that choice. I will link in the description the videos that I recorded earlier that brought me to that choice, so you guys aren't having to wait again, and then we'll see if I'm right, if the new choice gives us the chance to learn about Miu.